Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Rippah Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast. There will definitely be spoilers. We're always talking about future events as they relate to this episode.
This week, we're finally starting season 2. I'm so excited. Today we have season 2, episode 1, The Return. I'm so excited. All I can say right now is we pick up right where we left off. Everything that's happened on Founders Day. Founders Day is coming to a close. You remember the finale. That's where we pick it up.
Hello, John. Goodbye, John.
Yeah, exactly.
They literally replay those last few scenes
it's just
too.
So good. Yeah.
And they kind of re-edit it, it makes sense because it's happening for the second time. We don't need to watch the whole scene again. Yeah. But they give you those cliff notes because it's just so good. You might as well watch it again. It's just good. But yeah, it ends right where we left off. Elena's arriving home. Mm-hmm. Katherine is carving up John. Jeremy's maybe dead upstairs. Still don't know.
No one knows. Yeah.
And you know how sort of green and new to all of this Elena is because she just waltzes right into the kitchen. Yeah. She hears clattering and she sees John on the floor and she gasps and she just runs over to him and immediately calls an ambulance. So good human, those are the things you were taught as an actual human
instincts.
Of you see someone on the ground bleeding, call an ambulance. Yep. She does not think to check the house. No. John is dying. He's behind you, turn around.
Yeah, Katherine obviously lingers for a little bit when Elena comes in. Elena never sees her, but Katherine obviously messes with her and is kind of going behind her. And John does the thing where he's Katherine.
It's she has no vampire instincts yet, which is fair. She's new to all of this, but it's just funny. And obviously also, again, Katherine's a vampire. She's so fast. If she doesn't want Elena to see her, which clearly she didn't, Elena's not going to see her.
She's not going to.
But she does realize, obviously, and she's running around with a knife. And
she grabs the knife. Yep. The bloody knife that was just used to cut off John's finger.
Yeah, touch the murder evidence potentially, but okay.
Yeah.
And she immediately is Jeremy, and runs upstairs to check on him, and he's out cold.
He's out cold. Yeah.
Again, no vampire instincts yet because she doesn't even check his pulse or anything. She just is shaking him and yelling wake up.
Yeah.
Which maybe I've been watching too many shows with police and whatnot in it, but you go for the pulse immediately.
Yeah, check the pulse. Yeah, no.
But she's just shaking him. Yeah. Which he does wake up, and then we cut to the title screen.
Yeah, he does a little gasp wake up.
Yeah, classic vampire thing of the cut to.
Yep, cut title screen. Yeah.
Of course, we then pick up right kind of back, a little bit in the future. The ambulance has arrived, and they're wheeling out John, and Stefan shows up, and it's so funny. The cop, standing at the door, blocks him, doesn't let him in, and Elena's he's good or whatever, lets him inside, and I just love the idea that, random people in Mystic Falls would potentially show up and just try to get in the house, so this cop has to monitor the door and not let this random man in.
Well, he was just attacked, and
that's true, but
they don't know yet who did it.
They don't know anything yet.
Granted, Elena probably should conclude it's supernatural, but the police maybe.
It's just funny. It's just you really think in Mystic Falls these random people would be showing up to try to get into the house? They would have a security at the door.
I mean, they're a founding family. The Paps could be all over the place. If Logan Fell wasn't dead, he'd be on the scene.
He literally would be in the front yard right now. He actually would be.
Yeah.
No, so it's just so funny. So he gets in and they go straight upstairs to Jeremy. It's okay, John's good. Yeah. The ambulance has him. Nobody needs to go to the hospital with him.
Yeah.
Who's holding his fingers in a baggie? I don't know, but they get him there and they don't care. Now it's all about inspecting Jeremy.
Yes.
And we get the return of one of my favorite characters, Scientist Stefan.
I was going to say Stefan, the scientist, investigator, whatever you want to call him. He's in Jeremy's face. He's he might as well have the doctor light, checking his pupils and everything. Yeah. He's in his face, literally, physically in his face. And also so aggressively,
he's so aggressive. He slaps him for a second. He's
what were you thinking? How could you? was like, where is this coming from?
No,
I don't know.
I thought the exact same thing. It's like, it's so funny. He walks in and, you know, Elena's freaking out. She's like, he took this blood, like Anna gave him this blood and he took it, and like he says he feels fine, but I don't know because you look fine. And he like looks at the bottle, he inspects the bottle, he throws it. And then he like runs over, grabs Jeremy's face. It's like, Stefan, I understand this.
Chill.
This is a very serious matter.
Yes.
However, we can still deal with it in a calm, cool, and collected manner.
Yes, correct. Yeah. I feel like, also, I mean, he's obviously investigating it, but I feel like it's pretty obvious that he's not in transition.
Yeah, because right away, Jeremy
would know
says,
himself.
Well, that's the thing. Jeremy immediately says, I feel fine. I don't feel any different, which is every single vampire we see in transition. Of course, to this point, we've only seen one, Vicky.
Yeah.
But everyone we see after all immediately are like, I do not feel good.
I feel,
like something's
everything's wrong. Yeah.
So clearly he's not. And Jeremy really wants nothing to do with this. He's like, I'm fine. I know it didn't work. Which Stefan does eventually confirm that, like, he's fine. But Jeremy does react and is, like, disappointed, you know, to hear it confirmed that it didn't work. And Elena's immediately on him about that. And, like, why would you want that? And, like, how could you do that? And Jeremy reveals that it was because Anna died that night. And, like, you know, he just wants to be a vampire because of that. And then Stefan is on him again.
Yes! He's so aggressive about even his answer to this. He's just, I don't know. Where is this coming from?
No, I wrote that too. I was like, I honestly don't know why he's getting so aggressive. This is when he slaps Jeremy in the face.
Yeah.
And he's like stressing the point that Anna's blood is leaving his system.
Yeah.
Which is important.
Yeah, he's almost mean about it. He's like, if you try something like this again, you will die. Okay.
Which is important for later.
Yes.
Which is, I think, there's a lot of moments in this episode I'm going to keep bringing up, and this is the first one where it's like, they're telling us this in this way because they need the audience to know that.
True.
And so that's why they're doing that, is like, hint, hint, if Jeremy dies, he could die for real.
Yeah.
But the delivery is so aggressive, and I don't know why. It's a theme for Stefan this whole episode, basically.
I know. I was thinking that, too. I think he could still get the point across to Jeremy, like, don't try anything, like, because you will actually die, without being so aggressive.
Slapping him.
Without slapping him. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, just have to note, Stefan says that Jeremy didn't take enough to kill himself just to, like, the blood healed him. He took, like, 50 pills.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you count at the end of the last episode? Yeah.
I don't have the count anymore, but I said it in the last one that, like, he took, 60-some pills. I paused and counted every single one, and it takes, like, 30 to kill a person. I was like, Stefan, how?
Yeah.
How?
My only thought, and I don't know, I'm not a doctor or anything, so I have no idea, but my only thought is maybe, like as it damaged, like, slowly, the vampire blood was also slowly healing him, so maybe,
that's my thought,
like, it's not fast enough, is my thought.
It would have killed him, but since it was such a slow method of, like, death,
that's what I'm thinking.
That the blood was just, and which is what Stefan says, is that, like, he didn't take enough to kill himself, just to, like, the blood counteracted that.
The blood did heal him,
But, yeah, it definitely would have if he hadn't taken the blood. So anyway, they are like, Elena's going to go to the hospital to go check on Caroline still, which was the original goal. And Stefan is going to stay to babysit Jeremy, who's like, I don't need a babysitter. And Elena's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
You definitely do.
Sure.
So cut to the hospital. Lots going on at the hospital. Everybody's there.
Yeah, everyone's there. Matt, Bonnie, Liz is there. Damon shows up and like, he shows up and goes and talks to Liz. And I really like this scene because Damon's first sort of discussion with Liz, confusing my moms. It's just about Caroline.
Oh my gosh, you're getting twisted up here.
So messed up. Okay, Damon goes to talk to Liz about Caroline, and it seems like he's genuinely there because Liz called him up as a friend and was like, my daughter's in the hospital. Yeah. Like, come be my friend. I don't know. Like, they do end up talking about Mayor Lockwood, but it does seem like at first Liz was just like, I need my boys with me. Like, I need Damon with me. Get me Damon Salvatore.
Give me Damon Salvatore for real. And he showed up. Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, this whole episode, actually, Damon is such a good friend to Liz and to Carol. Like, we'll talk about it again in a later scene. That, like, he really is just showing up for, like,
them.
Like, there's no longer a huge, like in the first season of, like, the council and stuff, like, obviously that threat is still, like, present, but I don't know, there's no reason to be as, like, if he was doing it manipulatively, which I don't think he is, there's no reason to be anymore.
Yeah, no, he's definitely in.
Yeah, like, so he's just doing it in, like, a genuine way, which I think is interesting. But yeah, so they do check in about Caroline, and then, of course, they shift the conversation to Mayor Lockwood, because Liz is freaking out that Carol's going to want answers, you know, like a mistake was made, and she says that there was no way that Mayor Lockwood was a vampire. She's known him, you know, his whole life, and, you know, like, something must have happened, and Damon's just surprised, and it's interesting because this is the kind of first indicator, the first, like, kickoff of this question of, like, what happened?
Yeah, how could he have ended up there?
Yeah, and Damon, he doesn't really get into it there, obviously, but I think it does kind of get the wheels in motion for him of like, what did happen?
Yeah.
Then we do see Elena arrive, and she goes over to Bonnie, who tells her, you know, that Caroline might not make it, that this might be
Yeah, she's actually not doing well, yeah.
And Damon is listening in, and he comes and jumps in, and he offers to give Caroline blood to heal her, which Elena immediately says no. She's like, absolutely not. We can't take that risk.
Yeah.
And Bonnie goes, do it.
Do it. Yeah. Which, to be fair, I don't really understand Elena's hesitation.
This is exactly what I was going to say.
Obviously, we know what happens.
Yeah.
So she was kind of justified in the end.
Yeah.
But she couldn't have known, like, Caroline would get killed.
Well, here's the other thing, though. If they hadn't given the blood, Caroline probably also would have just died. So, like...
So, better alternative either way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I would rather have my friend be alive as a vampire than just dead.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, there would be no question in my mind if I was in Elena's situation. I don't understand why it's such an adamant no.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I definitely understand the risk of, like, you do not want to turn someone into a vampire, first of all, like, unwillingly, but also just in general. But, like, you would really rather risk that she just actually dies than risk that she might turn. Yeah. Like... It is a strange reaction. And Bonnie, I think, has, you know, is a drastic reaction. It's kind of surprising for Bonnie, especially, who really hates vampires. Yeah. But she says, do it. This is Caroline.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised it's not the other way around. Like, I would expect Bonnie to be more hesitant.
Yeah.
And Elena to be like, of course we have to do this. Of course we have to save her life. But yeah, they go the opposite direction. I don't know. Which
I think is kind of like a powerful, interesting story choice in that way, because of obviously what does end up happening.
Yeah. Like, if Bonnie's, who hates vampires at this point, if she's even willing to save Caroline's life using vampire blood, then obviously it's important. But yeah.
Yeah, because, again, like, it is stressed multiple times. Like, she's gonna probably die.
She's not doing great.
And so... You know, Bonnie's also really manipulative in the scene to make this happen, because Damon says, like, okay, I will heal Caroline, but, you know, Bonnie, then if I do this, it's a truce. Like, we're good. And she goes, no, but you'll do it anyway for Elena. Yep. And then she just walks away.
Walks off. Love her.
First she stares him down, and Elena's just kind of like you can tell it's like, awkward. Like, why did you just say that?
Thanks.
And Bonnie just walks away, leaving Damon and Elena there to deal with that.
Yeah, which, of course, Damon is like, we should probably talk about what just happened. And Elena obviously has no idea what's going on. She's like,
a tomb vampire broke into the house and stabbed John.
Almost killed John.
Yeah.
And Damon's like, oh, when? Like, I was
just
there.
I
was just there. What's going on? And they have this back and forth where Elena obviously has no idea what's going on. Yeah. Damon does. He thinks that they kissed. Yeah. Yeah. And then Jenna comes over, of course.
Yeah. I really love how this conversation unfolds. Like, first when it's just Damon and Elena, and then when it is Jenna in the fold as well. I think it's, like, this really interesting sort of, like, piece by piece of things, like, not adding up, not making sense. It's, like, it's the perfect moment you want out of the doppelganger, like, hijinks, you know? That's the moment Katherine would have gotten so much satisfaction from.
That's what she wanted. That's what she was angling for the whole time.
Yeah, because it's just so, like, confusing. And Damon, about the kiss, he just thinks Elena is, like, playing hard to get. Like, that she's just trying to pretend that they didn't kiss. Yeah. And he says, if you want to forget it happened, fine, but I can't. Which is so cute and so traumatic.
I know.
And before they can even unpack that, before she can even be like, forget what happened, that's when Jenna shows up. Yep. And she obviously is kind of giving Damon a look, because she just saw them kissing at the house.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not forget, Jenna just saw them kissing on the porch.
Yeah.
And
now they're at the hospital together.
Yeah, I was going to say, spoiling this conversation, this isn't revisited. I don't know if they ever do clarify for Jenna. I don't think...
Probably that little period when she does find out everything, but for now, no, she just lives with that confusion forever.
Yeah, she just goes on thinking that Elena basically actually did cheat on Stefan. I don't know.
Yeah. She probably does. But then also, so what happens in the conversation, too, is there's the whole confusion with Jenna, too, where she's like, I already told you this. And Elena's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
So Jenna's probably like, Elena was just out of it that night. Like, the stress.
Sleep deprived. It was hard being on a float.
She probably had to get up at like 6 a.m. to get her hair done.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. I guess that's
long day. And then her friend almost died.
Yeah.
And like, so maybe it was fair. But of course, so they're putting together this confusion, and Damon actually, you know, the smartest one, usually
he realizes,
he puts two and two together, and you know, multiple people claiming to have spoken to Elena when she has no clue what they're talking about, and he just says, "You've got to be kidding me!" And I love the face he makes. He just kind of looks at them and acknowledges them, like, "I gotta go," and like just runs away.
I gotta go investigate this. Yeah.
So Damon rushes off. Cut to back at the Gilbert house. Stefan is literally just like hall monitor watching over Jeremy.
Yeah.
Who's just sleeping, I guess. Which, how is he sleeping with Stefan standing over him? I don't know.
No clue.
But yeah, he's like walking the perimeter of his bed, arms crossed, just staring at him. Although I love that shot of him. We've used it in an edit before of a thirst trap of Stefan. Because it's so good.
It's a really good shot. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Stefan does hear the door open and close downstairs, so he runs downstairs to see Elena, quote unquote, coming in. They hug. She says, "Just what I needed." And they share a glance for a second. They really make eye contact for a second, and then attack mode. It's Katherine.
Yeah, Stefan knows immediately, which I always think is a really interesting choice that Damon didn't know and Stefan did. I don't know, because I feel like we've said before, Damon just seems to get Elena, and Elena gets Damon very early on.
Yeah.
Like we've been saying this since season 1. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting choice that Stefan was the one to immediately realize, which
I know.
could have been many reasons why, but
I have a few theories because I've thought about this a lot, because I also thought it was weird because I would have not necessarily expected it was the other way, but definitely expected at least
both of them to be fooled. That's what I was thinking
either
too.
both of them to be fooled or both of them to know. You know, it's like it kind of feels like they should have the same. But I think like one reason is I think Damon wanted to believe that Elena would kiss him, so I think he kind of just let himself. Also, since it was a little bit earlier in the moment, I think Katherine wasn't even like, he hadn't seen her 140 years. It wasn't even a thought of a possibility.
Yeah, that's true.
Stefan, as we've seen based on his treatment of Jeremy, is on edge.
Yeah,
that man is on high red alert. Anything could happen.
That is true. He could have accidentally actually just like attacked Elena because he was so already on edge.
Yeah. So I that's kind of part of my thoughts is because the weirdness of John getting stabbed, you know, I think
that's true. You're already thinking like
he was on red alert. He was like, something's going on. Clearly John got stabbed after the tomb vampires were all, you know, killed in the basement fire. So like he was probably already theorizing that something was going on, and I bet he had a thought that like Katherine could be nearby, because we also know that like from season 1 and from, you know, this episode and the next few, that like Stefan has a very low opinion of Katherine. He does believe that she's like pretty much evil. Yeah. So I'm sure he had it as a thought in his head that like, I got to keep an eye out for her.
Yeah. He also does know like Elena was on the phone with him. His clothes were stolen, or Elena's clothes were stolen.
That's true.
Yeah, so he could be thinking, you know.
He probably was just, what are you doing standing over Jeremy sleeping? Like, there's not that much to do.
You're just theorizing.
You're just standing there theorizing. Elena and Damon have been very go all night. Like,
they haven't really had a chance to stop and think about things.
No, which is shocking that Damon does get it as fast as he does, but he doesn't get it until he overhears the Elena-Jenna confusion, and then he does get it pretty fast. Yeah. But I bet Stefan was standing there theorizing with what he knew and got there as a possibility. And when he saw her, it just like clicked. Yeah. So of course he realizes, and Katherine says, "At least I fooled one of you." And I
had to leave that little tidbit.
Yes, had to do that. And I think that kind of clues us in as to why she even came back to the Gilbert house. Because at first I was like, why did they make her come, stab John, leave, come back like, 30 minutes later? I was like, that just doesn't even make sense as like a thing a person would do. It's just kind of like odd behavior. But then I was thinking about how she says that. I was like, oh, it does make sense. Clearly she came back literally just to see if she could fool both of them. And she knew she had limited time to do so because...
Yeah, she probably knew Elena and Damon were out, and that Stefan was there basically alone.
Yeah, and that Damon and Elena... It's going to be realized within 24 hours that they never kissed.
Soon.
Like, so, yeah, she knows she has limited time. So she's like, if I want to really get the double fool, then I got to do this now.
It's now or never. She's staking it out. She's she's hiding in the bushes waiting.
She probably is. She probably compelled a neighbor and is just like sitting across the street waiting.
That's so true.
And so Stefan and Katherine are fighting.
Yep.
And he gets distracted because he hears the sound of the door opening, which gives Katherine the opportunity, because he's kind of like beating her a little bit, like he's got her held back. And so the sound distracts him, and she's able to, like, I don't know what she does, break his arm or whatever.
She like twists his arm. Yeah.
And knocks him down and gets away.
Yeah, gets away before Damon and Elena come in, of course.
Yeah.
And they come in and they realize what's happened, and they put it together and they start talking about it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, obviously, also at this point, you know, they talk about Katherine being there and everything. And, and the thing that sticks out to me in this conversation is that Elena says she has to tell Jeremy, like, that Katherine's back and that she's basically impersonating her.
Yeah.
Why not Jenna?
Yeah.
Why?
She's rude for that.
She understands this is a problem, and, like, this is probably going to keep happening. Katherine will continue to play the doppelganger hijinks.
Yeah.
So she's going to tell Jeremy. But why would Elena not also tell Jenna? I don't know. That's the thing that sticks out to me, because it just never makes sense to me why they don't clue in Jenna.
Yeah, she definitely at this point should have also told Jenna. I mean, it's probably mostly that, like, one, she is still lying to herself that it's going to keep Jenna safer to not tell her.
Yeah, I think so.
And also, too, I think she just doesn't want to own up to the craziness that has been happening.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even begin to tell her all of the things that have happened in season 1?
That's true. She probably wouldn't have told Jeremy if Jeremy hadn't already been kind of in it. She definitely
wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But I think the realization that she needs to tell Jeremy should have also clued her in that she probably needs to tell Jenna as well. Like, everyone you live with needs to know at this point that a person that looks exactly like you is actively
and who has been invited in. Yeah.
So, which ends up being a whole thing that happens with Jenna that we're going to talk about probably all season, that Katherine is constantly getting at Jenna. So we're going to talk about that a lot this season. But of course, for now, like, you know, Stefan and Damon are breaking down what Katherine's motives are and what's going on. And Stefan asks what happened when Katherine was at the house earlier. And Damon's like, well, we kissed. Which Stefan is obviously pissed about. And they immediately try to fight, like, then and there.
Yeah.
But I love how Elena stops them. And Stefan just goes, later. And Damon's like nods his head.
I love their little, like, their nod.
But Damon does have a good observation here as they're talking about Katherine, because, you know, Elena's like, she's been invited in. Like, what are we going to do? And he's like, move.
Which they do end up doing, basically.
Yeah, they do actually really have to do. But basically, like, I think the good observation is that he says, if Katherine wants you dead, you will be dead.
Yeah.
So clearly she doesn't want you dead, and she has a plan. So they plan, Stefan is going to go to the hospital to see what John wants. They think John might have some information. He must have been working, you know, he's working with Isabel, who must have been working with Katherine. And Damon says his plan is to ignore the bitch.
Yeah. Which I feel like, again, this is showing how well they know her, because I feel like Damon is right. That will lure her out. Like, that will draw her out.
Yeah, definitely different goals. Stefan's like, we got to get 2 steps ahead of her. We need to know what she's planning. And Damon's like,
it'll unfold if we just ignore it.
Yeah. So he's just going to lean in and just see what happens. Yeah. So that's the plan. And that was the end of the long Founders Day night, finally.
Yes.
We pick up the next morning at the hospital, where Bonnie is visiting Caroline again, and Matt is there, and he reveals that she's doing shockingly better. And Bonnie asks, like, who was there last night? And he's like, oh, well, just the sheriff. And, oh, yeah, Damon, Stefan's brother, like, stopped by in the middle of the night randomly. Other than that, nobody's been here.
I know, like, Damon and Caroline, like, sort of dated in the show.
That's true.
Like,
they did.
We know that. Like, I assume that's what it appears like to other people. Obviously, you know, that's not really the full extent of it. But it looked like they were dating.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you be I don't know. I just feel like I'd have a different reaction to that if I was Matt and my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend showed up in the middle of the night to see her in the hospital. I don't know. It's just a weird situation.
True. It's like an odd thing.
Yeah.
But like he's obviously friends with Liz, so I don't know. They might have posed it a little differently. But yeah, it is just like a funny like. He
was just
in the middle of the night.
Yeah, no big deal.
But yeah, we do see Caroline. She's doing much better. She's watching Jersey Shore, and she's living to see another day, or maybe her last day.
Her last human day, maybe.
Yeah. Later in the day at the hospital, we see Stefan and Elena do show up to go to see John. Obviously, that was their plan, to go get information. And it's so sad. As soon as they walk in and John sees Elena, he immediately like freaks out. He's like panicking.
He's terrified.
Which is for obvious reasons, you know, Katherine. And she immediately clarifies that it's Elena. Mm-hmm. But can you imagine how horrible that would feel? Like, I know she doesn't even really like him. And like, you know, she just found out he was her father yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, you hate to like have somebody look at you and be immediately terrified of you.
Yeah.
When, like, it's not even you. Like, it had nothing to do with her.
Yeah, I know. It's something I don't really think about often, but I wonder what Elena feels about all of this just in general, because I feel like so many people that she meets in the show have preconceived notions of her already, just based on
Katherine.
Yeah, they immediately think of Katherine. Like Stefan and Damon, for example. They obviously met her and already knew Katherine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Stefan Damon one is the one that definitely needs to be unpacked more, but she definitely ignores that.
Yeah, she's willing to overlook it a little bit.
But it comes up a lot. I mean, even in the next one, we're going to see it with Caroline. So there's a lot of these reactions that Elena starts getting directly because of Katherine. Yeah. And so, you know, they calm him down, and Stefan, you know, he pushes John back down. He tells him he's too weak to be playing the tough guy.
Yeah.
Clearly Stefan has to be playing the tough guy here.
Of course. Yep.
And so Elena returns the go-but ring to John.
Yeah.
It was on one of the fingers that got cut off, obviously.
Of course.
So funny.
They took the fingers but not the ring. I don't know. I guess it probably fell off, but like
yeah, you think the doctors probably gave it back to them or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she returns the ring to him, and she asks why Katherine was there. And even in the face of near death, John refuses to even answer.
He's so unwilling to be forthcoming. He's like giving them a hard time. Yeah, he like won't answer their questions.
Yeah, all he starts talking about is how he wants them to break up.
Yeah, he can't stand to see Elena with Stefan. Yeah, all these things, which, to be fair, I guess, you know, if a vampire just attacked me, I would be pretty anti-vampire in the moment. But yeah, I don't know. He knows Stefan's not really like that.
Not like Katherine.
Yeah.
Although he's kind of disproving that, because Stefan goes immediately all the way. Elena's pissed. She's like, how can you live with such hatred? And she like storms out.
Yep.
Stefan goes all the way and starts threatening John that he has to leave town or else Stefan will turn him into a vampire.
Yeah. Again, where is this aggression coming from? Like, I guess Stefan's just on edge. Like,
he's so on edge.
You brought that up, and I think that's true. But when watching the episode, I'm like, why? Why is he so aggressive and so... I don't know.
I understand more after Katherine shows up. Like, that's definitely something I think that would be, like, very, like, triggering. Like, I mean, for real, he probably has, like, serious PTSD about Katherine. Like,
for sure. Like, oh, yeah.
But he's acting like that, like, to Jeremy before.
Yeah, with Jeremy before, I think is what was really... I don't know.
Because if it was just in reaction to Katherine, I could understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But still, like, that is Stefan's theme for a while in this episode.
Yeah, he's just very aggressive.
Because he literally, not only does he threaten John, like, I'm going to turn you into a vampire, he opens his veins, gives John blood.
Yeah, like, he force feeds him. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to do it, so leave.
Yeah. Yeah, he's wild for that. Like,
especially because Stefan is usually so, like, pro-choice isn't really a good way to put it, I guess. But
it's kind of a good way to put it. Yeah, pro-choice, pro-vampire choice.
Pro-vampire choice. Stefan is very willing to be like, you should be choosing this if it happens to you. Like,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Stefan's not such so like weird. A forceful person. Yeah. And it's also really weird because, like, what is even the reason that John like desperately needs to leave town? Like, just because they don't like him and they're mad about the Founders Day thing?
I guess
like,
so.
It's not like he's like, I don't know. It's just weird. And so they go outside. Stefan finds Elena out there.
Yeah.
And Elena guesses that Stefan threatened John, which she says good. But I feel like if she knew what that looked like and how that actually went down, she would not be so chill about it. But
yeah, I don't think Elena would be okay with the force feeding. Maybe like a little threatening that she's probably imagining.
Yeah, she's probably imagining a bit of a like, now, John, if you don't leave
Come
town,
on. Yeah.
we're going to have to get a little rough here. And she's like, that's okay. But no, he held him down and was like, yeah. So I don't know. Elena definitely would have had a different reaction if she'd seen it.
Yeah.
And so, they kind of wrap that up. And Stefan says that he needs to go find Damon now, presumably just to go beat him up.
Yeah, just to get into a fight. Yeah,
just for trying to kiss Elena. Stefan actively is seeking a fight this whole episode.
He really is. I guess, actually, now that we're talking about it in this context, maybe that is why Stefan's being so aggressive. He's so pissed off about the Damon kissing.
Yeah, but the Jeremy thing
happened first. Yeah.
See, again,
I don't know.
Post the Katherine discovery, a lot of this would make sense. Yeah, like Damon kissing Elena, trying to, and Katherine showing up. These are definitely things that lead to some stress, aggression, whatever. But yeah, the whole Jeremy thing was before that, and he went 0 to 60 in that moment and has just stayed at 60.
Yeah, he stayed at 60. He's pushing past to 80.
Yeah. So yeah, he's just so aggressive, and Elena's like, don't fight him.
Yeah, don't fight him.
And she says, Katherine is just trying to pin you guys against each other.
Yeah, this is what she wants. Yeah.
And so don't fall for it. This is not productive.
Which I do think is a wake up call for Stefan, especially because
he does
mellow out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about it in the next few scenes with him, but this is definitely a turning point in I'm letting her win by letting this get to me. Next, the big event. There has to be an event every time. This time, Mayor Lockwood's memorial,
which
the next day.
I have a lot of issues with this, as a concept. Just because, realistically, they're having this, wake/memorial, whatever you want to call it, the day after it happened, presumably. Insane. And also, at their house just seems, kind of odd. I don't know. I guess, they do have a lot of just town events there.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. It just seems weird.
It's so weird. I definitely, I've been to, wakes and stuff where it's, at somebody's house after a funeral.
Yeah.
That's normal, but usually it's family and close friends, not the entire town.
Yeah, I think
know he's mayor, but still.
Yeah, I think that's more of it that's I'm confused by. It's the public, the very public town wake.
Yeah.
To not celebrate, but to celebrate the life of the mayor. Yeah. But of course, since everyone's there and they were good friends, Liz is there, and of course Carol, because it's her house and her husband's wake. Yes. And they are not happy. Carol definitely blames Liz, which is kind of fair, but also if only she knew. Which she did. She does. She rescues her from the handcuff.
Yeah, but she says anyway. What she says to Liz is it was your deputies who made the mistake of taking him into the building.
Her V5 deputies.
Yeah. So thus you are responsible, which is pretty fair logic. It's it is your job, but Liz obviously is your husband is the one that locked me up and did this with John.
True.
So I think it's pretty fair. And they're obviously just really upset because, of course, Carol literally lost her husband yesterday. Liz's daughter is dying in the hospital. They're both in really bad places.
Just a tense conversation.
Yeah, so who comes over to mend the relationship but Damon and Salvatore? Yes. What a trio of friends these two are.
I love this little friendship trio. And again, like you were saying earlier, Damon does show up for them, and he does seem like he's just trying to be a friend to them. Yeah,
because wouldn't it actually kind of be better for him if they're all ripping at each other's throats and kind of separating so that he can kind of just take power by himself? I don't know. I mean,
I would think so.
Maybe part of it is if Carol gets Liz fired, then Damon potentially has to deal with some new person as sheriff that he can weasel his way in, which is just annoying. But I like to think that he just likes them enough that
I think so. I think he does.
Yeah, I'm just gonna settle this. Everybody's feeling a lot of emotions right now, and it'll be okay. We'll work it out. Tyler also is there. He is at the door greeting people, as you have to do at your father's memorial, apparently.
I guess. Yeah.
And showing up is Uncle Mason Lockwood, who he hasn't seen in 7 or 8 years because Mason thinks that Tyler's 12.
Yeah, they don't seem to fully recognize each other or realize how much they've aged or something, which is interesting. But yeah, Mason rolls up and Tyler calls him the black sheep.
Yes.
So we know he's been, and they say the whole, we haven't seen each other in years. So
yeah,
we know
he's an outsider.
Been off. Yeah.
And Damon goes over to Carol to ask who Mason is, and she basically says as much. She says he's just looking for the perfect wave.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about the council. And we're just led to believe okay, he's just this cool guy that just left town and is vibing and doesn't care.
Which also, wasn't Mason like in Florida?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of surfing in Florida?
I was wondering that. There might be. I don't know.
I don't know. I would think that's something you would say if someone went to like Hawaii or something like that.
I know. I thought that too. But I was also like, Liz might just be saying that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's because it's probably also something that Mayor Lockwood would have been saying.
That's
like just
true.
being like undermining whatever Mason was actually doing.
That's true. That's definitely true.
So anyway, so Damon's a little curious about that. You know, Damon's always trying to pick up the clues, and he definitely is now. And so in another part of the house, Tyler has just invited in a curly-haired Elena, which if we know anything, when you see those big bouncy like curls, it's not Elena.
Not Elena.
And the power pose that Katherine does when she steps foot in the house, she was serving this whole episode.
Good. She served every look, every moment in this episode. Obviously, I tried to emulate her like jean jacket jeans.
She
get her denim on denim. She looks so good.
Yeah.
She has those like weird boots that were so 2010s where they were like
the high heel.
Like, the high heel booty that was like there's no defined heel. Yeah. Just all one blob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blob.
They're kind of blobby.
Yeah.
Not my favorite shoe, but
Katherine makes it look good.
It looks good on Katherine. But yeah, she shows up.
Yeah, so we know Katherine has
she's on the scene, but everyone thinks it's Elena, of course.
Yeah, everyone thinks it's Elena. Although none of the people who know that Katherine's like in the fold have seen her yet.
True.
We do see Bonnie is there. Bonnie, interestingly, she strikes up a conversation with Damon. Like, she kind of is the one that starts it. And she's wondering why the Lockwoods were affected by the device. She mentions that Tyler got in that car crash because he heard a noise.
Yes.
And, Damon mentions that, obviously, Mayor Lockwood heard it because he ended up in the basement.
Yeah. I like to think of this as, like, a little, like, beginning of Donnie / Bayman. Bayman getting together.
Yeah.
Because, they have this little, like, exchange of information. Because I don't think Damon really knew
he didn't know about
was
Tyler.
Driving and that it affected him. I mean, obviously, he knew that Caroline was hurt. But I don't know if he knew the circumstances.
He probably didn't even really realize that, like, Tyler was driving. And,
or thought anything of it.
And he wouldn't have heard about the noise. So, Bonnie shares that with him, which is really interesting. And this is why they do end up making such good friends. They're both so, like, want to put 2 and 2 together and like get the facts and theorize. Nobody else has been interested in theorizing at all about what's
no one
with
cares.
The
even for a few episodes, Stefan is like, I don't care. Like
literally we'll talk about it a lot in the next one. That like Stefan is just making a joke out of the whole thing, but like Bonnie is ready. She's like something's going on.
Which I'm sure she feels a little guilty, but
yes. Yeah, and which is what Damon says. He doesn't even really theorize or like answer her. He's just like, feeling guilty, Bonnie, because of the device that you made
that you
available.
Said you would,
and so, they aren't there yet in terms of being friends because they just want to fight. But Bonnie basically turns that around into like, I can take you out.
She does the little aneurysm thing.
She does an aneurysm spell, which this is another one of those moments, like I mentioned earlier, where it's like, this is so unnecessary. Like, why did she just have to do the aneurysm spell on him at a party? But it is because later we need to see it for comparison to a moment we'll get to. But for now, they're just showing us that Bonnie does have the power to like very seriously like injure or affect Stefan and Damon. So it's a good little like clue for later. Then Bonnie goes outside. She's done with Damon, and she goes to who she thinks is Elena.
Of course.
And she mentions, again, another one of these important for later moments. She mentions how Damon is being such a jerk because he gave blood to heal Caroline. And he thinks that makes him like, so above it all or whatever. And that's important. We'll talk about that later.
Of course.
But, she's like, oh, like, thanks. Like, he just gets to me, whatever. Katherine's so funny, too. She's just kind of like, I'm so sorry Damon did that. Like, she has no idea, like, how to respond.
I know. I will say this whole little arc, the season 1 finale and then this first episode of season 2, I really enjoy on a rewatch because it's so funny to see Katherine, like, playing this off and how she does it. Like, which obviously most of the strategy is just, like, stay vague. But I don't know.
Be nice, stay vague.
Be nice, stay vague. But it's really interesting to also see how her tactic evolves. Like, when she really plays Elena, like, at the end of this season and in season 3.
Yeah, and even later.
She steps it up.
Yeah, because she knows. That's what it is now, is like she barely even knows who these people are that are talking to her, so she doesn't even really know how to play it. But obviously in those later ones, she knows who people are and what the dynamics are, and she gets really good at it.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't get anything past Bon Bon because the witch powers, she touches her arm.
Yeah, she gives a little arm grab.
And we've seen time and time again that when Bonnie touches any part of a vampire, she like immediately gets some specific feeling of like death that she has begun to associate as being a tell that someone is a vampire. Which I don't know if they specifically told Bonnie that Katherine is around. I assume they did because she pretty much immediately reacts. It's not like, Elena, when did you turn into a vampire? It's this is not Elena.
Yeah, I don't know.
They must have told her.
Yeah, they must have told her, or Bonnie's in the know enough to know it's on the table. To know that Katherine being back is a possibility. Like Stefan.
Yeah, where it's like she might not have been confirmed, but she definitely...
She knows
it could happen. Either way, she immediately realizes it's not Elena. She does pretty good at trying to cover up of like, well, I guess I gotta go find Tyler.
Yeah, gotta go make my rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, and so she quickly... turns around and tries to escape, but not quick enough ever for Katherine, who immediately follows Bonnie and basically traps her in an empty room. And she does introduce herself. Hi, I'm Katherine.
Yeah.
She mentions that she's working on piecing everything together. She's trying to figure out who all of Elena's friends are.
Yeah. Isabel gave her like I was gonna say the first clues.
Yeah, it's very interesting that she mentions that Isabel told her it's a bit of a puzzle. Bonnie tries the aneurysm spell again, so that's why she did it on Damon earlier, I think, so that we could see. We needed the reminder that, like, Bonnie is very effective at the aneurysm spell on Stefan and Damon, who are very powerful 140-year-old vampires. But this only tells us that Katherine is significantly more powerful because she fakes that it does something at first, but she's like, yeah, you're going to have to try harder than that. It literally, like, doesn't even phase her.
She does the little fake out, which... I was trying to think about this in this moment. I don't know if I remember like another time where someone escapes like the aneurysm spell. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if maybe Bonnie gets stronger.
That's my guess. Yeah. They never in any like words confirm like how or what happens. But my guess is that like the powers that Bonnie has because basically what she say that it's like popping.
Yeah, she says it's like repeated aneurysms basically.
Yeah. And so my guess is that like the way she can do it is enough to hurt Stefan and Damon because like they don't have as high of a pain tolerance, I'm sure, as Katherine. I mean, we know like, there's certain things that Stefan and Damon learn from Katherine, like taking vervain to build a tolerance.
That's true.
So my guess is that like people like Katherine and like the originals, they have just a higher tolerance to pain. They're stronger, they heal faster.
Yeah.
Whereas like Bonnie, as she gets stronger, can probably perform the spell at like a much higher like rate that actually could start to affect them, but like we don't really see that spell that much after the second season. I feel like it's not something in later seasons that happens much, and probably because as you're dealing with older vampires, it just doesn't do as much.
Yeah, it's probably not as effective. Yeah, that's true.
And so Katherine is that first instance of that where it just doesn't really work, and she vamp modes. She pins Bonnie to the wall. Yep. I love Katherine's face. She has like the her full fang vampire face, and she's like snarling. And Bonnie last ditch effort, witch opens the doors and they fly open so that the whole party can see into their room. And she just like makes like the funniest, cutest face where she's like, it's like a little like, huh, okay,
not bad.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah.
With the like teeth still in, it's great. Yeah. And then just in the nick of time, Stefan shows up.
Of course.
And Katherine is very happy to just go walk with Stefan and leave Bonnie alone. Forget about her.
Yep. Yeah, she just leaves Bonnie alone, has her little walk with Stefan. They have a little like walk and talk. They're like at the food. They're just talking. Matt comes up at one point, and Katherine is, interestingly enough, like fawning over him. She's like, oh, his eyes are so blue.
I know. I find it so funny. Katherine is like so obsessed with Matt. She mentions it all the time.
She's always talking about his blue eyes, which maybe this is like bad on me to admit because I've watched the show so many times. I've never really noticed Matt's eyes standing out that much to me.
They're definitely very blue.
They're definitely blue. But that's where it ends for me.
It's funny. She describes him as so dreamy. And I honestly think Katherine is just like attracted to pretty much every man. Like I think she's just like they're all beautiful.
Yeah.
Any man she can have, she will.
Yeah.
Which is all of them.
Yes,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's funny. She has this little map moment. And Katherine and Stefan have so much chemistry.
I know.
I just love their little, like, games, the back and forth of, like, teasing each other and kind of trying to get at each other. It's really great.
I know. I also think that's, like, really a testament to how well Nina plays this, because I think Katherine and Stefan have so much more chemistry than, like, Stefan and Elena.
Yeah, Elena and Stefan do have a lot of chemistry.
They do. Yeah.
They just have so much tension, but Katherine has so much fun.
Yeah.
That the Stefan chemistry is just a completely different vibe, which I do prefer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I know a lot of people really do ship Katherine and Stefan, which I kind of do too.
I kind of do too. I have to admit, I kind of like them together. I know
hard.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's hard because the story doesn't justify it at all, so you don't want to ship it, but I kind of do.
But I don't know. We'll get into that so much more in later seasons, so I won't say anything. But yeah, I don't know. I just, but anyway, yeah, they're walking around the table, and also Stefan mentioned something that I was thinking about. He asks, like, what's her plan here? Somewhat like Elena could walk in at any moment, and there would be two of them. Yeah.
And that is threatened a lot at this moment, because right as this is happening, Katherine and Stefan, they start to, like, walk outside, and Jeremy, Jenna, and Elena do arrive.
Yeah, they show up. Yeah.
And Elena's back with her straight hair, obviously.
Yep.
Like, if anybody ever were to actually think about Elena at that party, she had two completely different, like, impossible to have looks.
That's the other thing I thought. I'm like, how are people not already just putting it together?
Yeah. I'm sure people are like, that's kind of odd, but, like, you don't even think much of it, because, like, what, I don't know, she just went and straightened her hair at the party, I guess.
Yeah, without knowing, it's even a possibility. Yeah, I would not be like,
that's weird that Elena straightened her hair at the party.
Obviously has a secret twin. Yeah. I just think that was weird of her to change outfits.
Yeah. So Elena, when they arrive, she sees Damon immediately. So she goes over to talk to him and just ask how he's doing. Obviously, he says he's hurt. Or he doesn't say he's hurt, because he never says that, which she calls out.
Yes, he specifically doesn't say that, but she obviously deduces that he's really upset and hurt.
Yeah.
Which she says as much, and he's like, no, of course I'm not hurt. Like, yeah, just playing, like, the tough guy, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and she does say about, being hurt, that, like, he gets angry, he covers it up, and then he lashes out and he does something stupid. Yep. Talk about, like, really knowing a person. Like, Katherine, they really know her, but Elena really reads Damon this episode, too. Like, that's very accurate.
Does. Yeah.
And so, they have their little moment. But Elena says that, she's not surprised that Damon tried to kiss her. She's just surprised that Damon thought that she would kiss him back, which is brutal.
Yeah, he replies, and it gets me every time. He says, now I'm hurt.
Yeah.
Oh.
Such a fair response. That was like, I understand why she said it. That's so true. Like, it's not surprising he would kiss her. But, like, of course she would not do that to Stefan.
Yes.
And I'm shocked that he would think that she would do that to Stefan. Yeah. And so it's fair, but, like, it did not need to be said.
It didn't need to be said.
He probably realized it. As soon as he realized it was Katherine, he probably was like, yeah, it was too good to be true. Like,
yeah, of course. But
so, didn't need to be said.
Definitely not.
Otherwise, at the Lockwood mansion, we've got Tyler and Jeremy are bonding over their dead dads.
Yeah, they have a cute little moment, which... Yeah, it's kind of sad. They, like, they have a drink or whatever. Tyler says his dad won't miss the alcohol. And yeah.
And Mason shows up, and he literally, like, kicks Jeremy out. He's just like, leave.
Yeah, I don't really... Well, I kind of get why he does it.
They're drinking. They're teenagers.
Yeah, they're drinking. They're teenagers. And also... I feel like based on the look that Mason gives to Tyler after Jeremy leaves, I think it's also kind of like I'm helping you have your own space. Like, I was kicking him out so you could kind of be alone. So
I don't think Jeremy was doing that much but I thought that too.
That's the only thing I could reason, because I was like, I guess, I don't know. It's an odd little thing.
It's such a funny moment too, because, like, Mason kicks him out, he steals the drink, and then he drinks it, and he looks at Tyler, and the music is just blasting. It's such a wonderful life, wonderful life, and it's just so weird. Like, it's like,
it's also weirdly upbeat. Like,
yeah, it's so upbeat. It's like, it's a wonderful life.
Yeah.
Like, why is that the song we picked for the funeral scene in which boys are bonding over their dead fathers and the uncle steals the alcohol? Like, what?
It's just wild. Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was listening to the episode, like, in the background, in addition to all the other times I've listened to the episode. And I heard the song playing, so I like peeked my head around the corner, and it was this conversation. Like, they're at a wake.
It does not fit at all.
So
it's such
odd.
a weird choice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Katherine and Stefan are outside. They're still chatting away.
Mm-hmm.
Stefan confirms that Katherine was the one that changed most of the tomb vampires. We obviously speculated about that in season 1. And he does say, like, well, you are the one that turned most of them.
Yeah.
And Katherine is very much trying to flirt with Stefan. You know, she does this little, like, smile, like, giggle, like, flirty, like, little thing. It's so cute. And he's having none of it, obviously.
Yeah, no.
Stefan is cranky today.
Yeah, he's not having a good day. He even straight up tells her, he's like, I'm not Damon. The flirting thing is not going to work.
Yeah. And then he turns around and immediately, like, insults her and threatens her. And, you know, he's saying that, like, he's completely over her. Yep. He doesn't want anything to do with her. And Katherine gets him. She goes, based on your choice of women, I'd say otherwise.
Yeah. Finally. Thank God someone called him out on it.
Katherine ate. Like, she literally, somebody had to say that to him. Like, yes, you're so over Katherine, Stefan. You literally don't care, except you just stalked this human girl for, like, a year and then, enrolled in high school.
Yourself. Yeah, you literally enrolled in high school. The most absurd thing you could do as a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's crazy. So, yeah, she called him out with that. And then the scene continues to have some of the best dialogue because Katherine admits, you know, I came back for you, Stefan. To Stefan, who literally responds, I hate you. And Katherine to that literally says, you hate me, huh? That sounds like the beginning of a love story, Stefan. Not the end of one. And then she stabs him.
Yep.
And just runs away. She stabs him, he falls on the ground, and she runs away. And that's the end of the scene. And it's literally like, Katherine's so crazy, and I love her.
I know. I'm obsessed with her. I also just, like we were just saying, I love Stefan's relationship to Katherine. Before she stabs him, Stefan tells her she's a lying, selfish, manipulative bitch. I'm like, they have such good, she's right, they have such good, like, enemies to lovers energy.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the way it goes down. It's more like lovers to enemies. But I don't know. They just have, I love their dynamic. Mostly because I love Katherine. But
yeah, mostly because I love Katherine. And I do love Stefan, too. And I like when he gets, like, a little, like, snarky, like, you know, a little cranky. And, you know, I do think getting stabbed was really what Stefan needed today, because he's immediately leveled out. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, Stefan needed to be enrolled in a fight club, and Katherine gave that to him.
Yeah, exactly.
He immediately becomes more logical, very much more usual, level-headed Stefan. And, you know, because Damon, of course, shows up and Elena's like, kind of like attending to his wound.
Yeah, she tends to his wound.
And Damon's there kind of like theorizing about like what did they talk about, what's going on. And Stefan is really trying to like rally Damon that Katherine is just trying to get in between them.
Yeah.
Like, they need to be careful here. They need to not just turn this into a fight over Elena, because like Katherine's clearly up to something. So yeah, being stabbed was what he needed, because he's immediately like, he's back on track of like, okay, wait.
Yeah.
He can't just try to fight every 2 seconds.
Yeah, I think realizing it was Katherine and not Elena that kissed Damon, and Elena would never do that. And then, finally getting stabbed, having a little action.
And I think in that conversation with Katherine, too, he realized clearly she's trying to be manipulative, and she's trying to get in between
pitting them against each other. Yeah,
that's and Elena obviously told him that at the hospital, too, which is a part of that realization. And so he makes that clear to Damon at this point that like, I'm not gonna fight you. And Damon's like, why? I'd fight me. But Stefan just is like, no, we need to be like level-headed about this. We need to be careful, because Katherine is up to something.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting also too, because when he says that, you know, Damon, and he's kind of joking, but he says like, our bond is unbreakable.
Yeah.
Which of course he's joking, but I think it's so interesting that he says that, because of course we've been discussing a lot through season 1 of like, at what point do they sort of become friends again and get to this unbreakable point that they eventually do? And I don't know if they're exactly there right now, but it feels like they're pretty much there, which is really surprising when in all of season 1 they were really actually trying to kill each other.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they could pretty much already be there. I think Stefan going in to save his life at the end of the finale, I feel like how could that not indicate there's a special bond there? He was not willing to let him die.
Yeah. I think Elena is the one piece that, depending on how that goes down, is what could make or break them. But obviously, based on how things are currently going down, Elena's not going to let herself be the deciding factor in whether or not they be close or not, which is putting them very much on the road to become an unbreakable pair. So they're acknowledging that they're on the way there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it's interesting that they sort of acknowledge that point on that, like, the dynamics from season 1, episode 1 to season 2, episode 1 for Damon and Stefan are just like so drastically changed.
Drastically different. Yeah.
And I do love like what Stefan actually does say to Damon about this situation. He says, Katherine will try to break us, and how we respond to that will define us.
Yes.
Which I think is such a beautiful way to put it. And isn't that just kind of like the perfect quote for the show in a way of like, Katherine's going to try to break us, but how we respond to it will define us.
Yeah.
Because it does kind of define them in the end.
No, it does. No, it definitely does. I mean, yeah, it's sort of the premise of the whole show. Like, how they've responded to everything that happened after Katherine.
Yeah.
It's
people
how they
constantly trying to kill them, break them apart, revenge, yada, yada,
yeah.
yada.
Yeah, it's true for even more than just Katherine. Yeah, like how other people interact with them.
Yeah.
How they respond to it will define them.
Yeah, it does define them. They become like the unbreakable bond.
Yeah.
And so that kind of wraps up the memorial service. We don't really see much else from that event. People presumably go home. Back at the Gilbert house, we do see John. He must have been in and out of the hospital in 24 hours. I don't know how
they sewed those fingers back on. He's good to go.
I guess so. Which probably he wanted to go back to wherever he lived and be like at home and go to his home hospital rather than just like staying in a hospital.
Yeah.
But either way, he's leaving. And so he tells Jeremy, goodbye and to say goodbye to Elena. Jeremy's obviously pissed at him. Literally, John killed his girlfriend last night.
Yeah, of course.
So, I don't know why he thought they'd be on good terms. But again, John tries to wield your dad would have done the same thing.
Always.
And he tries to, emotionally manipulate Jeremy into thinking that Grayson would have done all of the exact same things. And it's just so annoying.
Yeah.
But I do like that they mention his dad because they say, they talk about the Gilbert ring for a little bit. And Jeremy asks John why the ring didn't save his dad. And John says because it wasn't a supernatural death. There was nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a car accident. The ring couldn't do anything against that. Of course, again, another one of those moments where, like, indicator towards the Gilbert ring. Notes for later.
Yeah.
Back to the Lockwood house. Of course, the memorial's ended. But Tyler is still in the study, his dad's study, and he's looking at a photo of his dad. And, the werewolf gene that we don't know he has yet, but we know he has those anger issues. He starts really lashing out and trashing the office.
Yeah.
His mom comes in immediately to see what's going on, and he shoves her.
Yep.
And Mason runs right in to grab him, and he tackles Tyler to the ground and is like really yelling at him and trying to calm him down. And it's such a dramatic moment. I kind of feel like Mason escalated that way too intensely.
I have the same thought. Like, Tyler, yes, he, like, smashes the picture frame or whatever. And then when Carol tries to approach him, he, like, kind of, like, I don't even want to say shoves her. Like, he kind of, like, just, like...
He pushes her.
I guess he, like, shoves her off of him, like, away from him.
Yeah, I think that's why Mason acted that way.
Which is, I would assume so. But it wasn't that serious. Mason tackles him to the ground.
He like wants it and he's, hey. He's like yelling at him. He's like,
screaming. Stop. It's chaos.
Tyler, calm down.
Yeah.
Like, it's really drastic all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely think the shoving of Carol is the moment that causes him to react that way because
of course.
We do know for like a werewolf especially, like things like that can go, again, 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds
That's
flat.
True. It can go so wrong. You never know.
And so I think that's why he acted that way because I'm sure he knows that Tyler has that werewolf trigger. He obviously quizzes him about this like later. And so... yeah, I think that's why, but it was so intense. I did not feel like it needed to be that at all.
That's what I thought too. It's like, Mason, chill. It's fine. And then, later on, it comes a little bit later, but then, Tyler goes off and goes to bed and, like, Mason talks to Tyler and they have this whole other conversation where Tyler is like, I don't know why I'm so aggressive. Yeah. And Mason says this whole thing where he's like, it's the Lockwood curse. Again, sort of like foreshadowing this thing. And Tyler, like, It's actually a really powerful scene. It's a good episode for Tyler if you want to sympathize with him because he's like, I don't want to be like this. He really emphasizes, like, he can't help himself, which, I don't know. I just found that, like, I don't know, very sad. Like, being so angry and not knowing why, which, I don't know, I feel like you kind of feel a little bit as a teenager, but I'm sure it's really amplified.
Yeah, and I think this is another one of those points that's important for later because ultimately what this is, of course, coming down to is like being a werewolf and having the werewolf gene. Because Mason also kind of like agrees that like nobody wants to feel that way. And so to me, it kind of speaks to this thing of like the werewolf curse and not wanting to be a werewolf at all. Yeah. And so that's important for later, that we kind of are getting this background that like Mason doesn't seem to want this at all. Yeah. And we already know Tyler doesn't even know about it, and he doesn't seem to be interested in it. So
yeah, we're already like teeing up how much of a curse being a werewolf really can be.
Yeah, and how, maybe the kind of curse where you take it to great lengths in order to no longer be affected by it.
Yes, to not be turning every moon. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some pieces coming together there.
Yeah, so that wraps up everything at the Lockwood house, the conversation between Mason and Tyler. And then back at the Salvatore house, we see Damon is getting himself a drink. And of course, Katherine is there.
Yep, she drops in to say goodbye, quote unquote.
Yep.
She's obviously doing what Stefan literally just said she's doing. Yep. She's trying to get in Damon's head, and she's trying to break him.
Yes.
They have a whole back and forth.
Yeah, like he asks what she's up to. She says, when I'm up to something, you'll know it.
Yeah. Yeah. And basically it comes down to Katherine saying, kiss me or kill me. Yeah. She's laying it on thick of like.
Yeah, she's really doing the most, but I love it. Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah, oh, of course.
And so Damon and Katherine start making out.
Yep.
And sweet, innocent Damon, as Katherine likes to call him, he stops to ask a very important question, which he doesn't really even get out because he's like really teeing it up. If you answer this right,
it's
rockets,
back to fireworks. Yeah.
Like this is our defining moment. If you answer this correctly,
answer it like right, and we'll forget the last 145 years. Like
he's laying it all on the
line. He's laying it all out there. He's desperate for the right answer,
and he doesn't even get the question out because she says, I know what you're gonna ask.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I never loved you. It's always been Stefan.
I cry.
Yeah, it's so sad how immediately ready Damon was to take back Katherine. He's been putting up such a front for definitely this whole episode, definitely the last few in season 1.
I think since
the tomb.
Since the tomb, he's been like,
he's been putting on a facade that he's like, like I don't care about her, like I'm over it. And obviously that was not true, because immediately, as soon as given the opportunity, he was ready to forgive her for everything and to just pretend it never happened and to just live happily ever after. And it's kind of interesting actually that she doesn't let that happen, but obviously that's because of like what Stefan said, is she's trying to just get in Damon's head and break him, and Katherine succeeded. She broke him, and she literally barely had to try.
Yeah, I know. He looks miserable at the end of the scene. It's horrible.
And that tees up where we go from there. The Gilbert house, Elena is getting ready for bed when a drunk, very upset Damon shows up in her room, which is usually not a good thing.
Yep.
Because I guess if you can't get one doppelganger, you might as well go and admit that you love the other one.
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah.
And so Damon, obviously is like pretty out of it, like in terms of just every aspect emotionally. Yeah. I don't know. He's not there.
He's also like we were saying, he's desperate to get back with Katherine. He's going to forget the 145 years. He's throwing everything at the wall. He's already made this huge like confession. I feel like at this point he's like, why not double down?
Yeah, he's definitely doubling down.
Which I really relate to. I'm like, why not keep self-destructing?
Yeah. And so he really is like, again, not making much sense, not being super logical. But he does say one thing here that I think has really a fraction of truth and is really interesting. He calls out Elena, saying that what they're doing means something, and something is happening between them, and that she is lying to Damon, to Stefan, to herself, because clearly like something's going on. And I do think he's right in a way. I do think it's way too early for that conversation. Yes. Like, because again, she's lying to herself. Like, let's be real. She's so loyal to Stefan. Like, she's not going to do anything about Damon. Yes. She doesn't feel enough for Damon yet to betray what she has with Stefan. Yeah. So, again, that's where, he's speaking some truth, but he's speaking truth, like, way too early before she's ready to hear it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be said just yet.
Yeah, so that kind of obviously leads to some unfortunate consequences, because he says this all way too early. He tries to kiss her, which is not great. It's not good at all.
Good. No.
And she pushes him off, and she says, I
him.
care about you. I do care about you, but I love Stefan. It's always going to be Stefan. It's an unfortunate, basically what Katherine said.
Verbatim what Katherine says, which obviously sends him spiraling. And you know what? I think if I was in Damon's situation, I would also react really badly. That would be so agonizing, so painful. Like, and obviously Elena doesn't even really fully know, like, the punch her words packed.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she just did.
Yeah, she can't know, but oh my God. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't also lash out. I mean,
the two women you loved, like, literally back to back within an hour saying it was always Stefan and it's always going to be Stefan. Like,
it hurts.
It hurts. It hurts. And Jeremy chooses the worst moment ever in his whole life to check on Elena.
I know. He's just trying to check in too because he's concerned. He obviously hears something going on.
And Damon immediately redirects all of that anger and energy from Elena to Jeremy, and he just says, you know, like, you want to be a vampire so bad, you want to turn it off. And he snaps his neck.
Elena gives the classic, no, classic. I can't do it, obviously.
I can hear it perfectly
in my head. I know.
Obviously just tragic, and she's like sobbing over Jeremy's body, and Damon just leaves, and his face obviously pretty much immediately shows that he regrets what he did.
Of course.
But I think the really egregious thing here is that he sees that, he immediately regrets it, and he just leaves.
Yeah.
He just leaves Elena, like, standing there, or, like, laying there over her brother's dead body, and, like, I don't know. That kind of was, like, the worst thing to me then. Not them doing it, but, like, it was just as bad to, like, realize that he made a mistake and to just abandon it and just be like, I'm not going to try to fix this.
Yeah, no. I think it's almost worse that he would just leave, which, you know, obviously, right after Damon leaves, Elena is over Jeremy's body. She's, like, trying to, like, she's basically willing it to not be true. And then she sees the ring on his finger, which, you know, I feel like we could go back and forth for this for a whole special episode. But, you know, maybe Damon did see the ring, and that's why he leaves. He's like, it's okay. He'll come back. No, I don't really fully think that, but I don't know. The leaving is just so bad.
I will say I rewatched the scene. Jeremy's arms were crossed. I couldn't even see the ring.
Oh, interesting. I didn't give it that close of an eye because I'm in denial.
I was looking for it. Yeah, this is a debate in the vampires community. It has been since this episode dropped, whether or not Damon saw the ring.
Yeah.
And I looked for the ring, and I couldn't see the ring. Granted, you know, Damon can actually look at him, and I have limited frames, but I'm a believer that he didn't see it. I think he just acted rashly, but
I think so too. I mean, also I think Damon does address it later on. I think he does maintain he saw the ring, but I don't know. I
thought he admitted way down the line later that he didn't see it.
Yeah, he might later say he didn't see it, but I think there's another point where he says
for a while
he saw the ring, but he's just so cagey about it that it's like,
you just got lucky, bro. Which he got lucky, because if Jeremy had actually died, died right there, that would have been it for Damon and Elena. There would be no coming back. I could not see a world in which she ever forgave him for that.
No.
And I honestly think it could have been it for Stelena as well.
That's what I was thinking. How could you look at, like, the brother of the person who killed your brother?
Yeah. And it opens that door again that Stelena had issues with in season 1, of just by Stefan being with Elena brings all of this, like, death and drama into her life that she doesn't need.
Yes.
And by Stefan being there, Damon being there, by vampires being there, it just leaves that possibility so much more open for tragedy for Elena, which, again, of course, she's going to get into it anyway with Klaus, but they don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I think that they all got lucky that he had that ring on, because I think it truly could have been the end of a lot of this if Jeremy had died. It definitely would have just drastically changed everybody's trajectory.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she's just going to wait for Jeremy to wake up. Stefan comes over to wait with her. Thank God she didn't have to do that alone. That's just like...
I know.
It just would be miserable.
That's agonizing. Because she couldn't know. They don't really know that much about the rings at this point. Like,
yeah, they don't.
They don't know how long it might take. They don't really know, what's the behind the scenes.
Jeremy's also never died with the ring on. I think the only time is Damon killed Alaric and Damon killed John, but he's the only one that ever saw both of them. Everyone else heard.
Elena was not present for either of those.
Yeah, so you don't really know what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just waiting. Could you imagine also if Jenna had walked in? They're just sitting in her bedroom. Jeremy's on the floor, dead. Yeah. The door's wide open. I was like, Jenna could walk in at any moment and be like, "What's Jeremy doing on the floor?"
Yeah, I'm gonna try to not be annoying about it, but the theme of this season is why didn't we just tell Jenna? Like, why didn't we just fill him in?
Yeah, get Jenna in. Yeah, maybe she's on campus or something. But you think after John was stabbed in the house, she's not gonna leave the kids alone?
Like, how do you explain that? Any of it? Yeah, but.
Anyway, so Stefan and Elena, while they're waiting for Jeremy, are talking about Damon. And it's so interesting in these early seasons how frequently and easily Elena fluctuates between hating or being friends with Damon.
Which...
This is the fairest, I think, of the flips to hate. But so Jeremy does come back, and luckily a reappearance scientist Stefan does his little inspection.
Checks him out.
He declares Jeremy all good to go. And yeah, he's like, you know, coming back to life shocked and just like, Damon killed me. But they're all good in the Gilbert house for one more night.
Yeah, so far. It's really interesting though, like the dynamic between Stefan and Elena also in this scene. I know you mentioned, like, you know, she's so hateful and it's so justified, but I think it's really interesting that Stefan is, well, first of all, Stefan is like, he must have seen the ring. Like, he's pretty unwilling to believe that Damon would just do this.
That's true.
Which, again, I think speaks to, like, where their relationship is at. Like, Stefan is sort of...
Yeah.
They've grown so much closer that Stefan is not wanting to think that Damon would just have snapped his neck. But, of course, Elena doesn't think as highly of Stefan right now. And she also probably saw he didn't see the ring. There's no way he just saw the ring.
Yeah.
And also, there's a really good moment for Paul where Elena says, you know, he wants to be hated and I hate him. And it's really subtle. So, like, go back and watch it. But Stefan is going in for a hug, like, when Elena is saying this. And you can see Stefan/Paul's face. Like, he looks upset. Like, he looks like he's hurt to know that, like, the relationship between Elena and Damon is now broken.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts him to know that that's broken, especially because Stefan had just given the whole speech to Elena when she was tending to his stab wound.
Yeah.
She was like, it's good that Damon feels something, like, even if he tried to kiss you, it means he cares.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's really well played by Paul. It's so minor, so, like, go back and analyze it to the level that we're analyzing this. But it's really good. I don't know.
The trio has the greatest dynamics because, of course, it's such a fine line of Stefan, of course, doesn't want Damon and Elena to be too close. He doesn't want him trying to kiss Elena. Yeah. But he does appreciate their friendship and does recognize in what ways they're good for each other, and especially as Elena is good for Damon. So, yeah, they have such an interesting dynamic, and it's only the dynamics are gonna be different next episode.
Of course. They change every episode, basically.
Yeah, they pretty much do. Another person going through a big change next episode. We end the night. Shocker, that's not the big end to the night.
Yeah.
We go to the hospital where poor Caroline, she's just sleeping in her hospital bed, and she has a visitor come in, and, you know, it's Elena shows up. And, you know, she's talking to Elena. Again, curly-haired Elena. As an audience, we already know that's not Elena.
Not Elena.
That is Katherine. And she tells Caroline, I need you to deliver a message for me. And this is, again, where that information that we learned earlier, if you give Katherine a drop of information, she will use it.
It will be used.
And Bonnie telling her that Caroline just conveniently has some vampire blood in her system was all she needed to know to tell her, deliver the message, game on. And then she takes a pillow and smothers Caroline to death.
Yeah.
And Caroline is officially in the fold. She's officially going to be in transition.
Yep.
And to end us off, Katherine again serves the walk that she gives leaving Caroline's room. It's so good.
Of course, the powerful moment isn't just Caroline being dead. It's the way Katherine just, like, saunters off.
Yeah. In her high heels, just walking out of the room like, I just did that.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Katherine gets another one.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah, such a good episode. So glad to be in season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing episode after amazing episode. It's a great one to start us off. Yeah, what a big ending there. That launches us into a pretty solid in memoriam.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we have the 2 huge deaths of main characters, but they don't stay dead. Obviously, Damon kills Jeremy and Katherine kills Caroline.
Yeah.
But they both come back. So
yeah, Jeremy with the Gilbert ring, and the neck snap. Caroline smothered by a pillow, turned into a vampire. Pretty drastic scenarios.
Yeah, that'd be pretty horrible.
Next, we usually have a category we call out of pocket, but we're deciding to rebrand that a little bit for season 2. So instead of out of pocket moments, it's going to be moments that we would have done differently. Opens the door up to a little bit more possibilities. Because then maybe you could say a moment that usually for out of pocket was too serious, like Damon killing Jeremy. Would have done that differently. But my nomination for would have done that differently is Mason trying to de-escalate Tyler's like little rage thing. I would have done that so differently. Like that was not necessary to just tackle him to the ground.
I think that's a really good one. I agree with that one. I was in a similar vein. I was going to nominate Stefan's aggression toward Jeremy. I think you're right. The rest of the aggression could stand after Katherine, the whole Katherine thing.
Yeah.
But the way he's treating Jeremy, a person who
so unnecessary,
like is obviously going through something, wants to transition into being a vampire, and he's slapping him across the face. I think I'd approach that differently. I don't know.
Yeah, like I definitely understand being unhappy with Jeremy and trying to be like serious to get the point across, but the delivery was not right.
Not great.
I don't know, something about the male testosterone aggression vibes this entire episode. That's the whole. Would have done all that differently.
That's what I would have done differently. That's a good nomination.
Yeah. So yeah, would have done lots of things differently this one, I gotta say. But next, our best quote.
Yeah, lots of quotes I would not have done differently. I feel like this was really hard for me because there are a lot of little like one-liners that I really like. So I really like when Katherine says, you know, when I'm up to something, you'll know it. And, you know, I love Damon's little answer me and it'll be fireworks. I love that whole speech. But I think I have to go with, I care about you, I do, but I love Stefan. It's always going to be Stefan.
Oh, that's
just the Elena line. It's so powerful for reasons she doesn't even know, like we already said.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just like the most standout. I don't know.
It's such a memorable quote. I feel like people reference that all the time in reference to like when they're comparing Vampire Diaries to different shows or like just talking about it in general. Though it's always going to be Stefan is such a memorable thing. I definitely thought about that. I had that on my list of call outs of nominations. The one actually for me that like won is You Hate Me, Huh? That sounds like the beginning of a love story, Stefan, not the end of one. Because I just thought that was funny.
I do really like that one. I think we can go with that one. I love a good Katherine line.
And love an enemies to lovers. Katherine's also a fan.
Yeah, she definitely is. She gets it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's good quotes. Lots of good quotes. I easily could have nominated a few more, but I was like, gotta keep just a couple.
Yeah.
But best songs, not as many. There's not a lot of songs this one. A lot of them were like like orchestra, piano.
They did a lot of, like the
just like little background classical music vibes, I think, for like the memorial. So there wasn't a lot of like real like songs, but of course the one that did stick out for me and was my only winner, curious if you agree, is Come Home. By One Republic featuring Sarah Bareilles. Interesting that they used the version with Sarah Bareilles. I thought that worked really well. Of course it plays when Damon shows up and talks to Elena at the end of the episode and then kills Jeremy. It just fits like the emotion of the moment really well, and like as we've mentioned time and time again, they're always featuring the same sort of artists and same like albums and things like that, and they play One Republic a lot. And Sarah Bareilles. And Sarah Bareilles, and I really like it for these early season vibes. I think it fits the 2009-2010 energy really well. So that was my winner. Yeah, that was also my winner. I was going to give a shout out to the It's a Wonderful Life because it's just so ridiculous. At the memorial. That could have been my things I would have done differently. But I was going to give it an honorable mention just as a joke. Just as a joke. No, I know. I kind of thought about it too because I was like, it's definitely memorable. It definitely is. For certain reasons. Sticks out. But I was going to go also with Come Home by One Republic and Sarah Bareilles. It feels like it has to be the winner. It's just such a memorable scene, especially between Damon and Elena. So we'll be adding that song to our Song of the Episode playlist. We have a playlist with all of our winners of Best Songs. It now has all the episodes from season 1 and now our first from season 2.
Yep.
We also do have a playlist of just all of the season 1 winners and nominees that you can check out as well. And yeah, we'll post clips of everything on our TikTok and our Instagram, so you can go find us and chat with us there.
And you can listen to the episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video version of the podcast on YouTube. So next Thursday, join us for Season 2, Episode 2, Brave New World.
Yeah.
Picking up right where we left off in that one, too.
Yeah, lots of vampire drama in that one, so ready for that. And werewolf drama, I guess, too.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Both.
Yeah, we don't know it yet, but it is werewolf drama.
Yes.
So ready for that. Thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Hope we see you next week. Bye.
Bye.